Welcome to the Practical NLP podcast with me, Andy Smith. Catch up on previous episodes at nlppod.com. In the next few podcasts, we'll explore timelines, the way that your unconscious mind represents time, plus the effect of your timeline on the way that you experience the world, how to elicit someone's timeline conversationally, and some of the other things you can do with timelines. We'll also try out a quick process for clearing anxiety about a future event like an important presentation or a job interview. First, let's consider what is the timeline. Western thought, at least, has a long history of using spatial metaphors for time. In fact, it's not easy to say much that's meaningful about events in time without using spatial metaphors. The fall of Rome was a long time ago. Colonizing the planets is still some way off in the future. Spring follows winter. We talk about particular times as if they were spatial locations. I'll meet you at the town hall at 3 o'clock. Think of any graph or chart that shows time. Time is usually the bottom axis running left to right. It would look strange to us if it ran right to left. Or think of that late Victorian illustration of the progress of evolution, a line of creatures starting with a fish at the left of the page and progressing through lizards, monkeys and cavemen as you get nearer to the right of the picture and culminating in the most advanced and evolved of creatures, the NLP practitioner. So in the West at least, anyone can relate to the idea of time as a line and probably uses this representation all the time. Now, how is this useful for us? Everyone has their own way of organizing their memories and the future events they're expecting, looking forward to, or dreading. For most people, this organization will take the form of some kind of line, with the past at one end and the future at the other, and now somewhere in between. How this line is arranged is important. It can have profound effects on how you experience time, and consequently on how you experience life in general. So let's elicit your timeline, how your unconscious mind organizes time. As usual, with anything that requires shifting your attention away from immediate sensory input, don't do this while you're driving. Ready? I'd like you to imagine time as a line, with the past at one end and the future at the other. So the past is in a physical direction relative to where you are. So you could point to it. And if I was to ask you to point to where the past is, where would you point? And which way is the future? Point to that with your other hand. And where is now? So if there was a line connecting the past through now and the future, what would that look like? Where would it be? If that line had a color, what color would it be? Actually, it really doesn't matter what color the line is, and I'm not aware that the color has any particular significance. Asking if the timeline had a color, what color would it be, is just a ruse to make it easier for the person to see their timeline, because it's always quicker to work with a visual image. If they don't get a visual of their timeline, and I don't usually get much of a visual image of my own timeline, it's still perfectly possible to work with it. All you need is a sense of which way the past is, which direction the future is in, and where now is. Another way you can elicit someone's timeline is to ask them to think of a memory of some mundane activity that they do every day, something like cleaning their teeth. Ask them, where are the memories dating from a year ago, a week ago, yesterday, tomorrow, next week, next year? How do they know the difference if the content of the memory is the same? The chances are that most people will sort their memories by location. But as ever, don't assume anything. As always, take note of their non-verbal analog behavior. Even if they say, I don't know, you may find their eyes momentarily looking in a particular direction. Or very often people will gesture in a particular direction when they talk about the future or the past without you even having to ask the question. Not everyone naturally experiences time as a line. However, everyone in modern technological societies can perceive time as a line, and it's useful to presuppose that it is a line for change work or goal-setting techniques. Let's look at the ideas of in time and through time. If you've worked in the corporate world, you've probably been on a time management course. And I don't know if you really love the course and still use the time management diary or software that came with it to this day, or if you were dreading it, or if you gave it your best shot, used the diary for a while, but bit by bit fell back into your old habits. Generally, the people who like time management courses are also the ones who are pretty good at time management already. And the people who the boss thinks are most in need of a time management course are the ones who find it hardest to relate to and benefit from it least. As you might expect, there's a link between how you subjectively experience and process time and the direction of your timeline. In fact, how you experience time has a huge effect on how you experience life in general. So the direction of your timeline is pretty important. If the timeline goes through where the person is, this is called in time. Generally, they'll be in the moment, often prone to turning up late for appointments and finding it hard to plan the future or even imagine it. They get sent on time management courses, but they'll find the system hard to stick to because it just doesn't match their subjective experience. If the timeline passes in front of the person, so that now is a little way in front of them, usually about half a meter in front, this is called through time. They're looking through the timeline as it's in front of them. Generally, through time people are punctual, good at planning and time management, but they may find it not easy to get into the moment. They're the ones who love the time management courses and like using time management systems, but their time management is probably okay to begin with because they can see their future appointments and meetings neatly laid out before their mind's eye. Some people have more than one timeline. For example, they may be through time for work and in time for leisure. Or they may be in the moment, but also be aware, when they choose to consult it, of a through time timeline, like a heads-up display that helps them to keep track of where they are in an activity. So take a little while to discover your own timeline, explore it. Notice how it relates to your experience of life. Notice how easy it is for you to plan, how easy it is for you to turn up on time for things. I would say just explore it, don't change it around at the moment. That's it for this week's podcast. Remember, you can see the show notes for this episode at nlppod.com, and you can download back episodes you may have missed from the online store at webstore.nlppod.com. Even better, would you like a free practical NLP audio training pack showing you how to use the principles of NLP to improve your life and work, even if you're not NLP trained yet? It helps you to really understand the most important 12 principles of NLP and make each principle work for you with practical exercises. You'll get access to nearly 2 hours of top quality learning material that you can play on any smart device. It's in MP3 format for instant download to phone, tablet or computer. To get your hands on this audio course, visit the Practical NLP Podcast website at nlppod.com. See you next time.